Namaste, SoulCircle! I'm Steven.
And I'm Candice. We're from Arcana Mind Body Spirit, located in Toronto, Canada.
On today's video, we will be discussing Lughnasadh!
Harvest has arrived.
We are going to be celebrating the Sabbath of Lughnasadh. So we are about to go jump in that ocean right there.
Yep.
We're going to do a little cool off
Real
baptisms,
hot.
nice cleanse, and then we are going to hike up into the mountains of the Cinque Terre.
Yep.
And then we're going to do some ritual. I think it's going to take some hours. We have some clearing, some cleansing, and we're going to do a harvesting. So it's time to harvest ourselves. It's good. All right, so
Let's spray, ready?
yeah, let's do this, baby.
Stones, crystals, giant bags packed.
Lughnasadh.
This Sabbath goes by so many different names and popularly known as Lammas.
Whatever you call it, most pantheons of belief label this holiday as the first harvest.
Yeah, and on today's video, we are going to be discussing just what harvest is and how harvest season can make a huge difference in your life.
Yep. When you surrender to the natural cycles around you and start your inner work, the real magic begins.
Does it ever? Harvest is all about looking within and about clearing up systems in your life that no longer serve you, or worse, have been holding you down.
At Harvest, we take those systems and pluck them from the vine.
And harvest starts with Lughnasadh.
Now that we have begun spinning towards the darker half of the year, we look inside at the darker parts of ourselves.
I can't wait to see just what we have unearthed together this year. The darkness in me sees the darkness in you.
Yes.
And I love her oh so much.
Aw, me too.
Now, again, as I said at the beginning, there are so many different names for this Sabbath. The two most popular names are Lughnasadh and Lammas, or Half-Mass. It's celebrated on August Eve, which is August 1st in the Northern Hemisphere, or February 1st in the Southern Hemisphere. If Litho is compared to the full moon, then Lughnasadh is the period of integration that takes place afterwards.
Call it what you want. Our goal is to help you use the wheel of the year in cadence with the natural cycles of the universe to become more effective in healing, releasing, and of course, manifesting.
So today we will discover how to celebrate this high holiday, and then we're going to share our favorite ceremony we use every year to celebrate Lughnasadh, which is our harvesting ceremony and our penance work. You can begin integrating it into your own annual practice so that you can begin releasing some shadow work before we get to Mabon and Samhain.
So be sure to hit the like and subscribe below to ensure you don't miss any of our upcoming videos on all our favorite metaphysical and spiritual topics that will get you to your most optimal timeline.
I'm so grateful for this life.
What do you say? Is it time to harvest?
It's harvest time.
Harvest!
I really don't think any of this can translate, but check this out.
Harvest time!
We are here, we are here, we are here!
I can already smell the pumpkin spice lattes in the air, and it's still summer for most of the northwestern world.
You know, Lughnasadh is a really interesting time in the Wheel of the Year, so let me paint a picture for you. Traditionally, Lughnasadh was the beginning of Celtic autumn. So let's imagine that you've done your first light harvest. This isn't about the threshing and the leveling of the fields yet. It's just walking through your own growth and getting a lay of the land. You won't know the true extent of your achievements until the larger harvest of Mabon, but today we get an idea.
Yeah, Lughnasadh can have a somber note to it because everything leading up to now has been a festival about creation and a forward movement.
Yeah, and Lughnasadh is the beginning of our journey inwards. It's time of taking that personal inventory.
Yeah.
It's about looking at what has taken root this year and what has not. It's about looking at your achievements and looking at what their integration is going to be like.
Right? Yeah, exactly. If you grew this much food, how far can it take you into the cold months ahead? What changes will you have to make to reap the maximum benefit of what we have created? So this is the beginning of, you guessed it,
Shadow season.
Oh yeah.
Love me some shadow work.
Exactly.
Yeah, shadow season consists of 3 major harvests. The first is Lughnasadh, the second is Mabon, which takes place in mid-September, and the last is Samhain, the final harvest at the end of October. It's time to go inside and look around. What have you spent all year growing? On Lughnasadh, we sit with each other and we acknowledge exactly where we are. In our harvesting ritual, we are going to ask each other, what do we consume in order to make space for?
But there will be plenty more on that later.
So, you round a cliff and you find a waterfall and a beautiful stone bridge.
Before we dive into ceremony, let's talk about the history, shall we? What is Lughnasadh?
Now, traditionally, Lughnasadh signifies the beginning of the end of summer. It was typically celebrated as a large festival. Sometimes, in recorded history, it spanned an entire month from mid-July to mid-August.
There was often competitive festivals, kind of like a small Olympics, first implemented as a celebration of Lu. This is, after all, where Lughnasadh gets its name, from Lu, the Celtic deity. The second part, Nasa, means a celebration of, hence Lughnasadh, a celebration of Lu.
So who was this Celtic deity Lu? Lu is often compared to actually the god Mercury in Greek culture, or Hermes in the Roman pantheon, or even Thoth in the Egyptian tellings. So as you can see, this makes it a very important energy stream to be celebrating and honoring.
In Celtic mythology, Lu was the son of Dagda, supreme god of the land. Most legends place the Dagda as the high king of the Tuatha De Danann. If you've never heard of the Tuatha, they were a primordial race of warrior fae people who are worshipped in Celtic and Irish lore. They were known as fierce warriors as well as equally enchanting artists, musicians, whose beauty and skill were unparalleled. Think of the gods of Mount Olympus from the Greeks.
Yeah, we've actually done an entire video on Danu, who is the mother goddess of the Tuatha. So check that out for more information. Many believed that because the Dagda controlled the weather, that he was also responsible for the success or the failure of everyone's harvest.
So back to Lu. He came from a twisted lineage and a tragic birth story. His grandfather was Baelor, the terrible Fomorian king with magic he used against the people and the land. It was foreseen that Baelor's grandson would grow strong and kill him. So he imprisoned his daughter, as one would, to keep her from procreating an heir. However, inevitably, she grew pregnant and gave birth to triplets. You should note the symbolism of 3. It's everywhere in Celtic Wiccan and pagan practices. Triple moon and triple goddess.
So she had triplets, and yet only Lu survived. So he was taken by a foster mother named Teltia, who was a member of the Tuatha De Danann. She was a beautiful, caring woman who raised her son to be an incredibly gifted man. Lu grew and honed his skills before approaching the Tuatha De Danann at the pagan high court in Tara.
Lu wanted to join the ranks of the Tuatha, but it was determined he was not adequate at any one thing enough. They already had skilled warriors and metalsmiths and carpenters that surpassed Lu's skills.
So Lu began to illustrate that though he was not the best at any one thing, he was adequate at all of it. He was equally good at almost everything they put forth to him. He was great at carpentry and smithcraft and magic and music and weaponry and history.
Lu truly was the first jack of all trades.
His argument ended up winning him a spot in the Tuatha as a rare kind of man indeed. From there, he went on to actually kill his evil grandfather and fulfilled his birthright prophecy by stabbing him in his evil eye. And henceforth, he became the king of the Tuatha.
So, a game similar to the Olympics took place each year on Lughnasadh to honor him, where athletes would compete to be the best at everything, just like Lu was.
Some legends say that Lu had this festival to honor his foster mother, Teltua, who was said to have passed away on the first harvest. To this day, Lu is still revered as a guardian of oaths and promises. So, whatever you find inside yourself during this harvest ceremony, it is an oath. As the Toltecs say, be impeccable with your word in honor of Lu and yourself.
One of my fave traditional celebrations of Lughnasadh was trial marriages.
Ooh.
My favorite. You would line up at a wooden wall. This is where it gets good.
Mm-hmm.
Men on one side, women on the other, and there would be holes in the wood where men would stick their
What am I saying?
hands. They'd stick their hands through the holes in the wood. Their hand. The women would accept a hand, whichever one looked nice, without seeing the guy, using only intuition to guide them. And then you'd have a trial marriage for a year and a day until the next Lughnasadh.
I mean, I can't even commit to an outfit each day. Imagine committing to a stranger for an entire year.
Yeah.
It's like guesswork.
That is next. That's not swiping left or right.
No,
This is
it's
something
wild.
else. Yeah.
Often traditions would also include baking bread with your newly harvested grains and the collection of wild berries and flowers that were in full bloom, taken at their prime before they start to wither in honor of the natural cycles.
Yeah. For our ceremony, we make sure to incorporate an element of work into the day. Hiking, exercise, even breath work. It's our form of penance or sacrifice.
Yeah, and we also try to incorporate this tradition of harvesting the berries and the flowers and plants in their prime as a mean for an offering for us.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk about the wheel of the year and where we're at. Okay, so Lughnasadh marks the turn of the wheel into the 7th season of the year. This is the season of integration. This takes place as we move from Lughnasadh towards Mabon, which is the second harvest of the year. This is the beginning of shadow season, where Wiccan and pagan cultures collectively do shadow work.
This is the season where we confront ourselves. What things are standing in our own way? What habits do we have to look at that maybe it's time we should part with? This kind of work. And as we move forward into harvest, it's important to take stock of what didn't come to pass and what blocks might have been standing in the way of those things. As the solar wheel finds itself in the heat of Leo, it is all about me time. So ask yourself, what are you doing to serve yourself? And what things are you doing to hinder your own forward moving progress? And then once you've taken stock of those things, what do you do with it? Well, we'll show you. Meet the Ouroboros.
Arguably the oldest spiritual symbol ever discovered. It's most notably an Egyptian symbol that was found in the Tutankhamun tomb dated back to 14th century BC. But the Ouroboros is connected to so many other faiths and histories. The symbol is simple, a snake eating its tail, forming a complete circle.
Over the years, one of my wisest teachers used the Ouroboros as a sign of harvest because it asks one important question. What do I consume in order to make space? We are going to be using this question a little bit later when we get to our harvest ceremony, so stay tuned for that.
Also, astrologically, Leo reigns supreme. One of the most important factors of Leo is taking responsibility for your actions. When a lion roars, he knows the whole world can hear him. It's a reminder to look at what you are presenting to the world and what you are responsible for creating. Ask yourself, are you happy with the legacy you are creating? Do you like the way you are perceived in your current incarnation? Also, Leo is a generous sign. Consider what you can give back. Remember the rule of 3. What you send out comes back times 3.
Also, it is the Perseid meteor shower. It's the best time all year for seeing a falling star. So, if you're making a wish, ask yourself if you are deserving of it. If it came true, could your current life accommodate this newer version of yourself? The Perseus meteor shower is often named for the children of Perseus. And on the new moon, when the sky is the darkest, the one closest to Lughnasadh, try looking to the northern sky. It is gorgeous every single year. You will thank us later.
So let's take a moment and talk about Lammas and what that is. Lammas, or Loaf Mass, also called Half Mass, was a Saxon holiday that was implemented after the Saxons overcame the Celtic people and absorbed their traditions into Catholicism. They started to celebrate Lughnasadh, where you would bake bread using seasonal grain and break it into 4 pieces and leave a piece in each direction of your home. Even today, Catholic ceremonies still observe the breaking of the bread during weekly Mass.
Yeah, it was primarily Catholic out of Rome, but that's absolutely not the same as Lughnasadh. But often, today, the names are used very interchangeably. Also, traditional farmers would also mark Lammas in their calendar because it was the day when you'd have to pay your landlords in your church for your farmlands.
All right, so rather than paying bills on Lammas,
Right.
Lughnasadh is a time to take a page from nature. The growth cycles of the earth have come to a halt, and nature is readying itself for harvest.
Yeah. Okay, so let's take a moment for a quick review. Now, ceremonially in the Wheel of the Year, the first fire festival was Imbolc, and this is where we asked our intentions to be revealed to us in what we called our naming ceremony. And during the following season of initiation, we entertained those ideas, discovering what pathways and options that we're led down in order to complete our work. We were starting to decide what our daily practices would look like that would help serve our intentions for the rest of the year and see what obstacles were going to stand in our way. It was here where we actually made our bottles of intention essence.
Then he made, sorry, I was having a moment. I was like,
It's nice, right? Those bottles.
Then he made it to Ostara, the second of our Sabbaths, which marked the exploration of our discoveries and the declaration of our intentions in safe spaces. It was on the celebration where we walked the labyrinth together and uncovered our thought processes and dared to speak our truths to one another. I love that one.
Me too.
During the season of creation which followed, we tended our soils and did the work. We were convicted in our practices and took the daily actions to see real growth in the areas of our lives where we wanted to see change.
Yeah, so then it was Beltane, which meant it was time for the season of manifestation to begin. It was there that we crafted our intention bracelets, and then after that, for the whole season, we let them sit for 6 weeks, where we wait for Litha and then harvest them, and then they were finally ours.
Since then, we've been wearing them over the season of gratitude, and as the year begins to spin towards the darker half of the year, we take a pause and look at what parts of our life need attention, as the Wheel of the Year spins into the season of integration.
That wheel just keeps on spinning, doesn't it?
Sure does.
Okay, so let's talk ceremony. Let's use nature's harvest as an example. If you imagine you're a seedling, Imbolc was the seed planted in dark soil that was nurtured during Yule.
Yep. And on Ostara, the seeds are making their brave voyage to the surface. Buds are blooming and becoming ready to flower.
And on Beltane, we are starting to see those flowers. But we may have also witnessed that some things might not have occurred. It was time to look at what was blocking us, what was holding us back. And then we bravely forge forward into the season of manifestation, knowing where our work lies.
Yeah. At Litha, we stare at what we created and exhale in gratitude at our lush garden and fertile creations.
And at Lughnasadh, we begin to take stock of what has made it and what things will no longer be moving forward with us. We look at the reasons why certain aspects of our lives did not take root. Well, here we go.
Our celebration has 5 different parts.
Number 1, Penance and Collection.
Number 2, setting sacred space.
Number 3, Unearthing Sanctuary.
Number 4, harvesting ritual.
Number 5, the sacred pause and bodywork. But first, preparation.
Yes. So let's talk about what you will need. Lughnasadh is traditionally always celebrated outside. We always like to have the elements represented, but today's ritual will also call for some alone space. You are going to want to drop in and not be disturbed in any way. Find somewhere you know you will not feel judgment.
Yeah, I feel like in the past, I can even speak for us, when we're outside sometimes and we're trying to drop in, if we're in a busy park and people are walking by, we've had some instances where it obviously pulls you out.
Yeah.
Right? So.
Yeah, and it can also really like just ruin the whole day, especially if someone has some sort of judgy or weird thing to say, which has happened.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to come back from that, I find, because you're in such a vulnerable spot.
Yeah.
And
yeah. So try and find your space away from people where you know you will be undisturbed.
Mm-hmm.
So there are going to be a few things you're going to need to bring. So let's start with some candles. I would choose some correspondences for yourself and what you are working with, like passion, red. If you love, you can have pink, happiness, yellow, green, money. Even if you just jump on Google, I'm sure you can find correspondences for what you're trying to bring in. But traditionally, you also want to bring some black candles because we'll be using them for sealing, binding, and releasing.
Mm-hmm. Clearing tools like sound tools, sacred medicines, smudges like white sage, copal, or palo santo.
Yeah.
Those are all really great to use as well.
Yeah, and then you're going to want to bring some bread,
Yep.
some apples, and some wine.
Mm-hmm. Your book of shadows, your grimoire, or just a journal, something to write with.
Yeah, you want to have a basket or a bag where you can easily collect things in.
Mm-hmm. Tarot cards or any form of divination for scrying.
Yeah, and anything that maybe you'd like to release, like you want to just get it out of your life, bring it to this ceremony. It's a good one for release.
Yeah, and lastly, bring lots of water because you're going to be outside and you're going to need it.
Yeah, and you know what? Maybe some tissues. Lughnasadh can get a little emotional.
I like to let my tears drop into the earth.
Yeah,
where I'm digging
right?
and placing
I
all
hope.
of my things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I hope.
I release my tears into the earth.
All right, so let's move on. Let's talk about our first part of the actual ceremony. So you've collected everything, you're prepared, you get there. Number one is going to be your penance and collection.
As your day begins, we choose some form of work to do. Remember, Lughnasadh was celebrated at festivals like the Olympics. You need to sweat. It symbolizes doing the work all year. 2 years ago, we flew to Italy to celebrate Lughnasadh, and we started our day after the sun rose, and we hiked cliffside trails in the Cinque Terre for about 6 hours.
Yeah, it was hot and it was sweaty, let me tell you. Hold on, I think I have a video here.
Okay, so we made it to the top of the first staircase. How you doing?
I'm hot. It's a lot.
It's a lot, and we're doing it with like 30 pounds of healing crystals on our back. Bottles of wine. It's a lot. But you know what? It is gonna be so worth it. This is our sacrifice for ritual. And so it is.
Yeah, so it is. Like.
But of course, it's not like every Sabbath one can fly to Italy. Yeah.
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 Maybe next time we'll wear real shoes when we do a 6 hour
Right.
hike on the mountainside.
But what you want to do is you want to try and pick a park or something outdoors where you can do some kind of exercise. It could even be in your home where you can even just go for a walk beforehand, maybe in your back garden where you can collect things. But your goal is to take a walk and collect some flowers and plants, acorns, anything that presents itself to you. As you do the work, you're going to collect these tokens so that by the time we get into our sacred space, you're going to have a basket full of all kinds of harvested goodies. Like I described earlier, it was customary for things to be harvested that were in full bloom so that they represented their highest point of growth, knowing that as we move forward, they are going to die and naturally harvest. Of course, if you only want to naturally harvest things and take things off the ground, that is totally okay. Do what is inside of your scope of practice and what feels resonant for you.
Once you're all set up, set some sacred space. Again, this is a high holiday, which means this is a high ceremony. So anytime you're raising energy like this, you should open a circle. During our videos at the beginning of the year, we talked about how to call in guides and guardians and how to set up sacred space. We will include a link below for that so you can check that out and know exactly how to do it.
Yeah, and also if you're not sure at all how to call in guides or guardians or set sacred space whatsoever, we actually have an audio for purchase on our Arcana website where you download it and you can just listen to it and meditate to set your own sacred space. We'll also make sure to place a link below for that in the description. All right, so We have our harvested bucket full of goodies ready to go. We have set sacred space. It is time for our unearthing.
So, Unearthing Sanctuary. So, we should have said this earlier. You are going to get dirty. After you've settled into sacred space, we open the earth. Make yourself comfortable and dig a hole large enough to fit the things that you have harvested. We like to do this in silence, but observe what feels right for you.
Yeah. Once we have the earth nice and open there, we get down on all fours and we do some breath work right into Pachamama. We like to say we whisper the secrets of gratitude and praise, of thanks, of offerings. It's time to get your hands dirty and get really connected to Great Mother. So use this time wisely.
Let some of that sweat drip into the hole. As you see, in Italy, I had a lot of that. and or tears as well. Next is the harvesting ritual. Remember, we were talking about the Ouroboros. Well, here it is, dirty, sweaty, in a state of penance and humility. We take our items we've harvested on our walk or our hike earlier and begin placing them in the ground one at a time. As we do this, we say, I consume blank, to make space for blank. And it uncovers a lot of insecurities, a lot of truth about our feelings and where we're currently at.
Yeah, often we've even surprised each other by the things that come up and the things that we are actually insecure about. And as we bury them into Great Mother, we allow her to transmute that energy. This also makes space for blessings that are already on their way to us, so that we can actually integrate them into our lives as they appear. Remember, the external work is done for this year. This is now about going inside and making space for the manifestations that are already on their way.
Once our harvest bowls are empty, everything that we've placed into the hole that we've dug, we will seal them into the earth by melting candles, using offerings of crystals, oils, or wines. Sometimes
or spit, or tears, maybe some hair, your kid's teeth.
I mean, whatever is part of what you do.
Whatever feels authentic.
I mean, I kept teeth out of mine, but there were hairs. There was hair, there were tears, and there was spit, and there was sweat.
And then we seal it all up, covering the wax and the earth. And we just place it all right back in.
Yes.
So then lastly, we get to our last part, which is sacred pause and bodywork.
Yeah. If you were just being honest with your circle in regards to what you are harvesting, you may be in a place of feeling a little raw. We spend the next hour or so laying some crystals on each other and doing some body work.
Yeah, we might do some breath work, maybe a mala practice. And then when we meet back in circle, we usually feel much more empowered. And then what we like to do is, using some of the earth from the ground and some essential oils, we recommit to our practice by anointing our intention bracelets for the next season. Yeah.
Still smells like magic.
Yeah.
By this point, you will feel empowered with a new sense of purpose 100%.
Yeah.
Hi. So we've just been doing ritual for 5 hours?
Feels like that. At least that.
Yeah, it was really...
Sun's going down.
Yeah, it's we're cliffside. Right. So we are in what we will call Sanctuary. And we're like cliff top in Cinque Terre. You can't really see through the trees there, but we're like way up.
Off the beaten track.
Yeah, way off the beaten track. And we planted our intentions. We got rid of things that we needed to harvest from ourselves to make room for the next incarnation of ourselves. So
it's as if we weren't even here though.
So we want to say thank you. Yes. And I hope you guys celebrated your Lughnasadh.
Happy Lughnasadh.
Happy Lughnasadh.
And of course, remember to adapt this in any way that feels most authentic to you.
Yeah. Lastly, always, always, always close the circle with gratitude.
So we are checking back in. We are chasing the sun. We're trying as hard as we can. Chasing. We're trying to make it back before the sun goes down because it is going to be dark. It's a new moon right now, so that we won't even really have like the big moon in front of us. So we're trying.
And that is what our practice looks like for Lughnasadh. But remember, it doesn't have to look exactly the same. Depending what your level of practice are, there's so many different ways to celebrate. We thought we would include a few here.
For all you Virgos, make a list. They love lists. Start by writing the things that you love about yourself or your life on one side, and then things you dislike in your life on the other. Try and draw comparisons. If I released the thing I disliked in my life or inside of me, would I be releasing a part of me I love? It's a great way to do a personal inventory of what should or shouldn't stay in your life.
Yeah, I feel like I want to do that anyways. It sounds great.
Yeah.
Number 2, clean house. Your place is probably all summered up at this point. It's time to begin looking forward at what systems you have to prepare in order for autumn's coming arrival.
Number 3, colors. It's time to start thinking about that fall wardrobe. Oh, such a great time in fashion. Anyways, the summer colors are still in season now, but not for long. As Leo season winds down, allow those browns and chunky knits to make an appearance.
Number 4, start by working that root chakra. Spend a little bit of time every day earthing and seeing what comes up for you. Work with the Bija mantra, Lam.
Number 5, decorate your harvest altar with offerings from your own garden and allow them to die there. Work on your relationship with death and the natural cycles of the universe. Allow yourself to open your mind and heart for harvest season.
And lastly, find a poem or verse to read that inspires you. Find a reading to share based on the season. You may also wish to even try writing something yourself. A great way of exploring yourself is writing down what your heart is actually saying. We are actually going to be sharing our blessing for Lughnasadh coming up. So if you are not a writer, please feel free to use ours.
So Stephen, as you push forward into harvest season, what elements of shadow are you hoping to integrate for yourself?
So there's been a lot of creation this year. It's been a really great year following every Sabbath for the entire wheel so far. I feel like you can attest we have created a lot this year.
Yeah.
A lot of amazing changes have happened. And integration of all of these things, like making space in our lives for some of these things is a little bit challenging, isn't it? It's like all that analogy, right? Oh, I want a new car, and then you get a new car, you don't have a garage or a parking space or like, right? So it's sort of that. So for me, I think I need to release a few expectations and some of my egoic mind. I need to like rest that in the earth. That was a part of like our practice. I need to like put down my expectation, my ego of how things are going to happen and just allow it to unfold and make space, sort of integrate the new in with the old and see where my path is taking me. And rather than forcing it, this isn't the time of year to have that forceful Gemini double air energy like pushing and trying to control. I exhale the expectation, I leave that in the earth with Pachamama, and I move forward, integrating. That's what I'm doing. What about you?
I think a lot of the shadows things I continue to work with, as I always will, because it's a part of me.
Yeah.
Is impatience and there is a lot of like procrastination and like just kind of different kinds of things that I think on the surface level look kind of like a self-sabotaging type thing. But working with those parts of myself, I think I'm just making space for the stuff that I did manifest, making space for them in my lives, and as they grow, not trying to force anything, but at the same time remaining proactive and conscious of those things, so that there's space and there's flow. I'm not forcing, I'm not getting frustrated when things aren't moving now. Doesn't mean that they aren't going that direction. It just means that it doesn't have to happen tomorrow. Because if it happens tomorrow, it will be a mess.
Yeah.
Because I need a little bit more time to prepare. I need to make sure that I continuously always focus on me and the self-care that I need, and slowly then allow the things that are already there, I've manifested them, and just piece by piece let them seep into
Seep is
my
a good
world.
word for you.
Yeah.
Seep. That's your word for the season.
Exactly.
As we're talking about shadow here, I think it's really important to say this. I think it's not mentioned enough in metaphysical communities, is that shadow isn't all bad. Right? Like, my shadow is a good time. I love her. She wants to, like, go dance on a bar, like, surrounded by strangers, attention hungry. Like, she's great. I love my shadow.
My shadow is a good time, too.
Bye, everybody. I love you.
Tell It the Clown we say hi.
Oh, I see my red balloon. I think we float down here.
Oh, she's a little dark.
Yeah.
But I love her nonetheless, and I've had a lot of great adventures because of those.
Yeah.
And I've learned a lot because of those
Exactly.
things.
And integrating them, like, we're not saying you have to harvest all these parts about yourself that are it's not all harmful. Like, if I just shut down those parts of my life, it'll show up in like, it'll show up in your daughter's relationship.
Yeah.
She brings home, right? Right? So by dealing with it and integrating those into your life, sometimes I do just have to go dance and blow it off. I'm not just going to sit here and be like, no, I'm not going to dance ever again on a bar.
Yeah, and some days I need to, some might call it procrastination. I call it, I prefer fire lit under my ass to get things done. And if I've got a 6-month window, honey, like, it's month 3. I got so much time.
Yeah.
I'm going to take the nap. I'm going to take the self-heal. I'm going to, paint my toes and, like, watch some shows. That's part, I need it.
Yeah.
If I don't get that downtime, I'm partying on the bar top with you. The next day, I can't go to family barbecues and all this kind of, I'm like, bye. Like, literally, I don't want to talk. I just want to, like, be in my house and cocoon. I need those things.
Yeah.
And, like, some people might think it's like shutting down, and there's labels that you can call those things as being negative, but I know what I need. Of course, if I stayed in that place, it would look like depression.
Between, like,
and it would
womb
look
time and depression.
you know, but I understand myself enough now that I can take what I can do, the things that I need. I can take what I need from a situation versus just, like I said, being depressed and not leaving my house for 6 months because I had a big night one night.
Right.
No, that's not what we're talking about.
All.
I know I need to recharge my batteries, and if I don't, it might look like a 6-month depression.
So, I can't wait. I love watching this Wheel of the Year spin right now. Be sure to comment below and let us know how you're going to celebrate Lughnasadh this year. And be sure, of course, to like and subscribe to our channel so that you receive all of our videos about our next coming high holiday, which is Mabon, the second harvest. This is going to mark the end of the season of integration and the beginnings of the season of shadow.
The wheel keeps a-turning.
Ugh, does it ever?
In the meantime, Arcana releases 3 videos a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and we go live every morning in August.
Cannot wait!
Be sure to share this video with your friends so that you can decide how you will celebrate Lughnasadh.
Many blessings and abundant returns. We cannot wait to see what you are growing.
Magic is real.
Magic is real.
Mwah.